Hello there, Southfield. Welcome to another issue of the Southfield Roundtable, in which we discuss interesting, sometimes prickly issues in a very warm, friendly atmosphere. Today, the issue is the oil drilling / fracking right here in Southfield at 9 Mile and Evergreen. We invited the people who are doing this, the Word of Faith Church folks, to join us, but they did not answer my calls. So at that empty chair, that's Word of Faith. And we hope they are watching us. We hope they are listening. I have some wonderful guests today, just really great people. I'm so excited to have at this table people that are, all right, on the other side. They are anti this oil drilling. And I first have Sheila Gaddy, who is an activist here in Southfield. And I've met her through council meetings and other meetings, and she's a community leader. Welcome, Sheila.
Thank you, Uni.
Then we have Larry Quarles, who is also, he's a retired businessman and obviously interested in this issue.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Nice to have you. And then we have Diane Weckerly, another wonderful person who is also an activist in her community. And I'm just going to run around the table very quickly to ask you quickly in 2.5 words, what brought you to this issue and what have you done as a community leader?
Well, what brought me to the issue of the drilling permit, a Word of Faith, was I received a letter from a homeowner in Washington Village. And it was a letter from the MDEQ asking for comments about how they felt about the drilling. And this person wanted me to look it over. And as a result, that's how I got involved in it, and it sort of snowballed. Previously, I'm a homeowners association president. Mm-hmm. I attend council meetings on a regular basis. I was aware of the drilling permit in October of 2015 when I had gone to a council meeting and they were discussing the drilling permit, and they were about to pass the moratorium.
Thank you. Okay. Larry?
Well, I've been a longtime Southfield resident, almost 44 years now, and I became aware of the situation at Word of Faith International Christian Center and their desire to start drilling for oil through my neighborhood association. I belong to the Magnolia Neighborhood Association, and I was passed, like a board member, at the association. And we were passing out or sending information as we received it. So several of us got together and joined together to find out more, just to get the information about what was actually going on. And that's led to us forming a group of the Stop the Drilling in Southfield.
Perfect. Wow. And that's what happens when good people get together. Diane.
Well, about 1.5 years ago, I became active in the committee to ban fracking and frack waste in Michigan. We are trying to get it on the ballot for 2016, and it would also put a ban on acidizing the wells. So, having learned the dangers of what happens when the chemicals are put in the ground, as soon as I heard about this well in Southfield, I thought, we have to prevent this. Mm-hmm. We have to prevent it before it starts contaminating the community's air, its water, its people. Mm-hmm. And before that, I was a public health nurse, which led me into this because I met families of 1,000 lead-poisoned children in Southeast Michigan, and that all could have been prevented too.
My goodness.
So I really think this is important that we get out there and fight it and prevent it.
Absolutely. The best part about this show, and I've said this before, is I get to meet the most amazing people, because people who care are my favorite people. And I don't care what the issue is. It's just if you really are involved and if you care, if you really mean what you say and say what you mean, it is so exciting. So on that note, I really feel obligated to just read a few things from the Word of Faith people, because they should have an ear. And one of the things that they said was very interesting. The lady that I actually reached, but I'm not going to use her name because that's not necessary, she said the group has a right to protest, but she believes the group is uninformed and said they were hostile when she tried to explain the church's viewpoint. Now that's possible. It's entirely possible that very emotional people and involved people can get a little bit passionate. We can disagree, she says, but should do so with the understanding that the other party has the right to a dissenting opinion. And she goes on to say that I believe then we can have a meaningful dialogue. We didn't, but they didn't come. They didn't come. That has the potential to yield a positive outcome. She said that, interestingly enough, if anybody protests again, the church is going to provide hot chocolate as a position of goodwill. But it's just interesting to me. I spoke to somebody else about this situation, and money came into the conversation. And what this person said was, well, and you can answer this, anybody that wants to. She said, maybe they're in economical straits, and maybe they see this as a way to save their church, because she knows, this lady that I spoke to, this friend of mine, that many congregations always have money troubles, and they're always looking for a way to gear up their finances. So I thought about that, and I need your output on that particular issue. If a congregation is in economic straits, how can they best? I mean, I don't want to judge them, but
I received an email from one of the Word of Faith members, and she indicated that they had a 10,000 membership strong, and that they could afford to finance any project that they wanted to finance.
interesting.
And she was exhorting me for distorting the facts, and what did I want to say? She was exhorting me for distorting the facts about Word of Faith being a faith-based corporation. I personally feel that they are a faith-based corporation.
Interesting.
And there is nothing wrong with them doing business to further their ministry. I mean, we have Forever 21, Walmart. They are faith-based companies as well. Eden Foods is another one. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you get into a business that inherently may harm a community, I take issue with that. Also, I wanted to remark that in 1997, when Word of Faith was seeking their site permit review, and they wanted it to be passed. They were going to add to the church, and they were going before the council. Bishop Butler indicated that this church was involved in teaching children to respect government, and that may be true, but at this time they're not respecting the Southfield government that's passed a moratorium, and they're undermining our will. In 1997, they would do anything to have that site permit approved. They investigated the wetlands, the environment, how it was going to impact the traffic, and they were very clear that they would do everything they could to be a good neighbor. And yet this time, when they've been at this Packwood Jordan development, they didn't mention it to the community. They have not been transparent. They have not had a conversation. And something of this magnitude, why wouldn't you have a conversation with your neighbor?
Wow. Fascinating. Yes, Larry.
Well, I understand the situation with the church. I happen to belong to Godland Unity Church with Pastor Guy Lynch, and I am the director of operations for our outreach program. We are definitely, looking to raise funds in order to, provide services for our community. However, we took a different approach. And our approach was, first of all, we sat down, together with the pastor and the board of directors, of our outreach, and we came up with several ideas. We passed those ideas on to our membership, to see, hey, how they felt about it. And then we asked the people in the community how they felt about it, because there's nothing that we want to do in our community that would in any way upset the harmonious nature of the community. Now, our church is located in Brightmoor.
That was my next question.
And Brightmoor
All
is, an area that's down between Telegraph, Telegraph, Grand River.
Right.
North of Schoolcraft, and up to around the 6 Mile Road area. I happen to be the president of the Friends of Eliza Howell Park. Another community, situation where we're, trying to save the park, and we've worked diligently with the city of Detroit. All of that is being said, I do understand. I do understand exactly what the church is trying to do. However, I think they crossed the border between being a religious organization and a secular organization. What they're doing is trying to impose their secular values on our residential community without even our input.
I have a question.
Yes.
What kind of secular values would allow them to, excuse the expression, ruin the entire environmental? What does that mean? I don't understand what that means.
Well, the thing is that the raising of funds for outreach is, is you have to cross over. We have a separate corporation from our church to do our outreach ministry so that it's not connected to our religious values so much. As I said, as me being, the president of Eliza Howell Park, has nothing to do with the church. This is strictly for the community. And we do not want anyone in the community to feel that if they participate with us, that changes their religious values or their religious, beliefs, that they have to believe what we believe.
Okay.
But we want to show that, we are good corporate citizens and good community citizens. And then our involvement there is to benefit all the people of our, of our community. Not just those that belong to our church. So I say that's the difference between the religious side and the secular side.
But I'm still not understanding. Am I stupid? Somebody jump in and tell me if I'm stupid. What I'm trying to figure out is what would their non-secular outreach thing be if when they do this sort of thing, it ruins the environment and lowers values of the homes. What are they aiming for? Or do they care? This is what I'm wondering. Diane, I'm sorry.
Well, they've said very clearly that the bottom line is that this is their private property. And they can pretty much do what they want. And we should not be out there protesting and meddling in their affairs. However, we have no choice. We have to be out there protesting. We have to have meetings of protest because the Department of Environmental Quality is the one who will give the permit and allow them to drill if we let them. And we know that they have not been doing their job. They did not do their job in Flint. And we have to stand up here and do it ourselves. We have to protect the community. They say we're not informed. Word of Faith says we're not informed. We are. Even on their application, they say, oh, we're just going to acidize. We're not going to frack.
Right.
So what does that mean?
Well, that's what I want to know. And I think everybody else wants to know. Explain.
Yeah, well, they're going to put toxic chemicals, all kinds of chemicals. Do they need to tell us? No, they're not going to tell us what chemicals those are that are going in 3,000 feet deep into the earth in Southfield. They say, we're going to put brine. Well, it's not the kind of brine that you put
On your turkey.
that are or that your pickles come in.
Exactly.
It's a different kind of brine. It's what the kind of brine they're going to put down there is a salt water, but it's a salt water that comes out of other wells that have been drilled. And when it comes out, it not only contains the toxic chemicals, it contains radioactivity from the earth. And that's part of the water that they're going to put down there. They're also going to use other water, which also doesn't help the community for them to be draining the community of water.
So it's interesting to me. So look, I want to continue on the idea of they're trying to be out. I'm not familiar that well about Word of Faith. Forgive me. I remember years ago when I was doing Head Start programming, and they were one of the places that I went to do my program with the children, and I thought they were wonderful people. I fell in love with every child, but that's me. But they seem to be doing a super terrific job. So, and I'm sure it's pretty much the same people all these many years later. So what do you think turned, if there is such a thing?
Well,
Is it strict? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Will.
One, I don't think the people who have turned, I don't think that these are bad people. I think that they are Christian people, but I also don't believe that they were at all involved in any part of the decision making to do this. Their religious leaders signed the contract. It is my understanding that it was their notion to inform their congregation only after they started receiving royalty checks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So they, and I'm talking about the heads of the church, are the ones who signed the contract. They signed the contract before they informed their congregation, and they made sure that the congregation heard all the so-called good things. But even in their explanations, they cite the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality's assessment of the dangers. Diane just stated.
Yes.
If we leave it up to our Michigan Department of Environmental Quality,
Yes.
we could end up with another Flint. We totally understand. I think all the people of the state of Michigan and most of the people in the country know that they do not do their real due diligence, and that it seems that their goals are to extract and give these permits out to as many development companies as possible, regardless of whether or not the safety of the people of the state of Michigan is, is held dear. That is all about, the money. It's
Yes,
all about the money.
And
Please, Sheila.
And MDEQ receives their funding, their primary funding from the drilling companies.
Yes, they do.
And so it's like they're not an independent company that can do what they think is best. They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them, and we've all seen that. And my reservation with them is that, it's not just Southfield, but it's all over the state.
Yes.
And the state sold 18,000 mineral leases, and they went to Jordan Development Company, which is the company that's going to
Right.
drill at Word of Faith.
Yes.
So they'll be able to drill on a well on every corner.
So
if we allow this to go through.
If we allow this to happen, then it becomes an epidemic all through Michigan. Interesting stuff. I had to think about somebody. There is a lady who comes to our city council meetings all the time. And she speaks on every single issue. And we know God love her. But sometimes I think she's almost
she's
right.
right.
She
She
is
is
She's
correct.
all- I
Yes,
mean,
I know
you know,
exactly
I don't
who
even
she
know if I
is.
should
Yes.
say her name. But
No,
she,
please
no,
don't.
of course I won't.
But what I'm thinking is,
Yes.
though, you can't judge a book by a cover.
Exactly. She does. There's this deep down feeling of the environmental horror that could happen to us if we overdevelop, and this is a huge issue that many people. And interestingly enough, I did go to the meeting on the 25th, and there was a lady from Word of Faith that was sitting next to me, and she made it very clear that she is a member, but she doesn't agree with this. And I was very proud of her for saying it out loud. But if we don't do something,
Well, I think Diane stated it quite clearly. It's not just doing something. We cannot allow this.
exactly.
There is no way that we can allow oil drilling in a highly dense residential neighborhood. That's where Word of Faith is. It is
know,
in
that's
a
what-
residential neighborhood. We can get into all the facts, all the figures, the safety records, whatever. However, this is actually going to end up costing the residents of Southfield
Exactly.
more money than they can really realize. Word of Faith, as a religious organization, they are tax exempt.
Right.
They do not generate any revenue for the city of Southfield. Now, when they first, when Don Scotus was moving out and they wanted to develop, sell the land, the city of Southfield wanted that land to go to developers so it would become tax producing, like a property. Mm-hmm. Now, as a resident of Southfield, I supported Word of Faith coming in there. We do not have to do everything just to save money or just to make money. Mm-hmm. It has been a religious, community for many, many years, as Don Scotus. Mm-hmm. There was no reason for Word of Faith not to move their congregation there. They promised to be good, neighbors, and corporate citizens. We sacrificed, like I said, and I supported them being there. But when it comes down to who pays for the roads that surround Word of Faith? Mm-hmm. Who pays for the 2 traffic lights that we had to put in and install?
Yes, we did.
The city of Southfield just last year passed, like a millage to support our roads. Mm-hmm. Word of Faith had no money in that.
True.
However, look at Evergreen. Mm-hmm. Evergreen has been totally redone. Yes. They are the beneficiaries of what our tax dollars and what our revenues have contributed to them. Mm-hmm. There is nothing that they're going to do that is going to return to Southfield. Like, hey, the revenue is going to cost us. They have not taken into consideration. Our first responders will need to be retrained. Who pays for that? The residents of Southfield, because they have to know exactly how to handle a disaster if and when it happens.
God forbid.
That is our responsibility as citizens of Southfield. Mm-hmm. And the Christian Center of Word of Faith have taken none of that into consideration.
So why haven't they? That's an interesting question.
They didn't think it out.
They didn't think.
They didn't think it out. I am not going to say these are bad people. I refuse to even believe that. I think that they are good religious people. Like I said, I belong to a church. I happen to be a Christian. That's a Christian center. It wouldn't matter to me whether they were Muslims or Buddhists, or Catholics, or like a Jewish community. I think they're good people, but I do not believe that the religious side of Word of Faith took anything into consideration. It was just the secular side that was out to make money.
Do you think there's that much of a divide within that congregation?
No. It's
I'm just curious.
No, I don't think it's. I think it's the hierarchy, not the membership. I think it's the hierarchy, not the membership.
I can tell you, this is so interesting that you say that, and I'm not going to talk as much. You need to talk more than I do. That's a rule. But just one more quickie thing that and that is. I'm on our library board, and we have a junior library board member. And this issue came up at our meeting. And that young man looked at me and he said, "Miss Rose, my family worships there." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, that's okay." He said, he said, "We didn't know anything about this." And those are parishioners. Mm-hmm. I'm quiet now. Who wants to jump in?
I wanted to comment on what Larry said, that they are not bad people, and I don't think that either. I think that Jordan Development was pretty persuasive. Mm-hmm. And part of this company's, the way they deal is that they offer signing bonuses, royalties that are not made public, and that this was a path of least resistance. If I'm in trouble and someone knocks on the door and says, "I need you here, I got a deal for you," and it makes you think about it. And they let them know that, "Oh, no, the city can't do anything. Oof. We've got this, and we've got this in the bag." And so they sign. That's my personal feeling. And when I've looked at movies such as is it Powerland? I think it's Powerland, with Matt Damon.
Yes.
You see how they call them landmen, come in and persuade people, sign on the dotted line. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And you don't think about the ramifications, and they let you know Forget about your neighbors. Neighbors can't do anything about this deal.
Diane, did you have something?
Yeah, no, I also agree that it's not the parishioners. I know too many of them who would never have agreed to this if they knew the facts. When Jordan put in the application, they put in an application for an exploratory well. That sounds totally harmless.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
But what if they find oil? They're not going to stop there. They're going to put in more applications for possibly horizontal wells, for fracking wells, for multiple
For those,
wellheads.
do you mind doing something for me, or for all of us? For those people watching, can you explain fracking as opposed to just drilling?
I think the easiest way is that fracking and acidizing are being used more and more now to get it harder to get oil and gas. They're not finding the big pockets of oil under the surface, so they have to go into rock. So fracking is they fracture the rock with all kinds of chemicals and salts and things. Acidizing, instead of fracturing the rock, they melt it with corrosive acids. So that's no big improvement. Jordan has been telling the congregation, everybody else all along, that this is harmless. They're basically saying that, and it's just not. You know, with the chemicals and the corrosives they're going to put in there and the brine, it's not a harmless, and it's going to stay there. At least half of it is going to stay there. They said, oh, we're just going to put cement over the top after we're done. I don't
that's
think the
paving
congregation
over.
knows that they're going to be, you know, praying right next to these toxic
These-
chemicals every
My
week.
goodness. And the other issue to this that we didn't bring up is that many residents of Southfield get their water from wells. And that is a terrifying thought to them. Terrifying that this could seep into their water.
Well, also, as I mentioned before, I'm president of the Friends of Eliza Howell Park. And a lot of people don't know, but that is where the Rouge River splits to the western branch and the northern branch. Word of Faith sits dangerously close to the
that.
Rouge River.
Yeah, it
Dangerously close
Yeah,
to the Rouge River.
yeah.
I noticed when the statement from the church that they plan on doing a double seal, to contain the drilling operation, that it will be concrete and steel.
Lovely.
Well, that really sounds good. Is it going to be the entire 2,900 feet?
total-
Are they going to totally seal this well? I don't think that that the people of the church really understand what's going on. And say, I'm an engineer. I'm not, so I understand it. I get it.
I'm so glad you're here.
I'm a neighborhood activist, true, but I am an engineer. I get it.
How did I get so lucky to get you?
But it's dangerous to put yourself in this situation. It's not so much that Jordan has a good safety record. We're right in the middle of a residential area, and if anything goes wrong, I'm with Diane when it comes down to it. It's going to go wrong. We just don't know when. Okay, but to do this in a residential area is wrong. And like I said, I don't want to even get into all the details. It is something that's happening amongst children.
Yes, big time.
It's amongst a very well-established community. As I said, I've lived here for 44 years. My neighbors, we have a stable, very stable community here in Southfield. We go all out. I would say that Southfield residents have taxed themselves more than any other community in Michigan, trying to keep our neighborhood and our community whole and vibrant and very, very marketable.
And safe.
And safe. We will do just about anything. And for an organization, and that's what I'm going to call Word of Faith an organization. For an organization to completely dismiss our concerns, our safety, and our the respect of our property is unconscionable. It just never should have happened. It never can happen, and it never will happen. Until Word of Faith, the pastor and the people take the contract to Jordan and tear it up.
Wow.
That contract must be destroyed. That is the only way that we can be guaranteed that they just won't let this thing sit for a while, and then and then come
Sneak
back,
back in.
another 3 years, 5 years, whatever it's going to be, and raise its ugly head again. That contract must be torn up and destroyed and nullified.
All the above.
All the above, right now,
Yes.
not in the future,
Yes.
right now.
Well, I know you were writing like crazy. What do you want to say?
No, it's just this view that this is their private property and they can do what they want. I just think that doesn't make any sense in the world today. We are not isolated from one another, even our little squares of private property, because whatever they do at the church will affect the community.
It is so true. When people move here to Southfield from other places, they are totally shocked when they get a letter from the city saying, "Oh, you didn't mow your lawn. Guess what? We have an ordinance. You need to row you need to row that boat and mow that lawn." And this is a warning. And if you don't do it, and if you can't do it, we will bring somebody to do it for you. Well, there was an issue. I recall a few years ago when our now Congresswoman was then mayor, when a gentleman moved in from Detroit, and he totally ignored those letters. And he received a ticket, and he went to the Free Press, and he told them he was a black man living, who had lived in Detroit, and he moved to Southfield, and these terrible people in Southfield sent him a letter because he was a black man from Detroit. So, bless Brenda Lawrence, she wrote a rebuttal to the Free Press saying, "Hello, I'm the mayor, and guess what? I'm an African American, and I moved here from Detroit, and this is a rule." And the man wrote and said, "That my home is my castle." And she said, "Thank you very much. It is your castle, but your lawn is not."
It's not.
And that's what we all are here in Southfield, around the mulberry bush to say that. But, and we care so much about our city. I was talking to a friend of mine who, he's out of state, and he just doesn't get this passion that we have for our city. So, with that out there, we know that there are things coming up that you can tell us about, the upcoming meetings and so on and so forth.
I'm sorry, upcoming meetings?
Yes, we have meetings coming up. Do you want to tell us what they are? February 17th?
Oh, February 17th, the MDEQ has agreed to hold a public hearing at 6 o'clock, as far as we know, in City Council chambers, and the overflow will be held in the pavilion. But you need to stay tuned because that location or that time and date may change. We're not sure about that. But as far as we know today, it's February 17th at 6 p.m. And we need your presence to come to the public hearing. There's no comment that is irrelevant. If it's how you feel, then you need to express that. So often I see that people have become so complacent. I hear young people saying, "Well, why vote? They're going to do whatever they want to do."
Yes.
But if no one ever stands up and just vehemently says, "No, you can't do this," and we know that what you're doing is wrong, then they will do what they want to do. And I wanted to go back and point out about the MDEQ that in previous years, they used to put online those sites that had been, there was a list of oil and gas contamination sites that existed in Michigan. That no longer is available. You have to get Freedom of Information Act form and file that. Depending on the extent of the report that they may give you back, they charge you for that. And that can run into several $100s. But we can't just readily go and see what's going on in our state. Also, even though this contract is with Jordan Development has subsidiaries such as West Bay Exploration, which has been responsible for 29.4% of hazardous material spills that were reported to the MDEQ. And there's litigation going on. And I found this information in the Ann Arbor Independent Report, I think that's what it's called. And so we know that this is not an innocuous endeavor. Not only that, we don't know anything about the company, Beckman Production Services, that's going to remove the waste from the site. We don't know anything about them. So nothing is transparent about this whole operation. And when things aren't transparent, that sounds an alarm, at least for me.
It does. It raises that red flag. It certainly does. Absolutely. Now, we did have an open meeting this past week, and the overflow was so astonishing that they've had to schedule a second one for those folks that didn't get in. So there is tremendous outpouring in our city about this issue. It is just, and yes, yay, I'm sorry that it's such a miserable situation, but if it gets people out there and interested and ready to fight for something, yes.
Well, I think that's, like the very interesting part. We have a situation where just by basic word of mouth, that here is something that's getting ready to happen in the community of Southfield. And people were so interested, in getting information. And that's really what this is all about. Get informed. If you are informed, you can make a better decision. That they showed up in groves. I have never seen the library so crowded. I have not seen an issue that so motivated the people of the city of Southfield to say, I got to go find out about this. Is this a rumor? Is this really a fact? Could this possibly be happening? Hey, in my community, in my neighborhood, that they came out, hey, to see. We're in a situation that is almost unprecedented in the United States. And that is, we have 100% agreement of all our elected officials.
Yes, can you imagine such a thing?
On one side of an issue.
Yes.
I have never seen that happen. But the remarkable thing of that is that our state government totally, 100% ignores the will of the people. Now, you're just saying, hey, young people talk about, and people say, why should I get out and vote? Why is, are my elected officials, important? And here we are in a situation where we have a governor, we have a Michigan, department, the Department of Natural Resources, the Michigan DEQ, who are saying, we don't care what you people think.
Exactly.
We don't care how you feel. We don't care what you want. We're in charge. We control you in every aspect. You're elected official. Well, we already know that Flint wouldn't be in the situation they're in if the governor hadn't nullified the electorate of Flint. Your votes don't count. I know best what's best for you.
Money, honey.
Well, I know best. I know best. You don't know. I'm gonna send you an overseer. I'll send somebody in, and they'll make all the decisions for you because you're not capable of making those decisions yourself. And here we are, Flint went down, without the big protest.
Exactly.
Southfield is not going to go away.
On that note, guess what? Are you aware that we need to wrap up?
Well, can I just say one thing?
One quickie.
20%. We also need to remember the zip code 48217 that's going through the same thing with the EPA. They want to release more pollutants into that community, which is already the most toxic community.
48217 is where?
48217 is in Southwest Detroit, where I grew up.
Okay.
So I am familiar with that, the health issues, and because of Marathon Oil wants to do more.
Oh, yes. We have to. I'm so sorry, Diane, but I want to thank you I'm so excited that you're here. You are absolutely marvelous. I cannot. Wow. I'm just thrilled with you. Thank you so much.
That was an hour.
Can you believe that? Did you look at your watch? Yes. So everybody here in Southfield, keep talking and watch us on YouTube. Southfield Multimedia Services. Thank you. Keep on talking Southfield. Mwah!
Yeah.